The shot that shattered the Pentagon, Navy SEAL sniper refuses kill. Order&Exposes $200 billion conspiracy. The mountains held their breath at 23:47 hours. Master Chief Petty Officer Claudia Portman lay prone on a ridge in the Hindu Kush, her body motionless as the rocks beneath her. 15 years of training had taught her to become part of the landscape, to breathe with the wind, to wait with the patience of stone. Through her night vision scope, the world glowed green and ghostly. 2,100 meters downrange, the village of Coast Mande spread across the valley floor like scattered dice. Mud brick compounds, narrow streets, the kind of place where secrets lived and died in darkness. Her radio crackled, static then a voice. Overwatch, this is ground. Package secured. Beginning extraction. ETA to exfil point 12 minutes. Claudia keyed her mic. One click. Acknowledgement without words. She shifted her eye back to the scope. Her rifle was a Macmillan TAC-50 chambered in .50 BMG. 51 pounds of precision engineering. At this distance, she could put a round through a dinner plate. Had done it 43 times in combat. 43 confirmed kills at ranges that most snipers only dreamed about. The wind shifted. 3.2 miles per hour southeast. She adjusted her calculations automatically. Temperature dropping, 38 degrees Fahrenheit. Barometric pressure stable. Every variable cataloged and compensated for in the space between heartbeats. This was her element. This was what she had been born to do. Her father had been a SEAL, Master Chief Daniel Portman, Medal of Honor recipient, hero of Fallujah. The man who had taught her to shoot when she was 8 years old using a .22 rifle that was almost as long as she was tall. Shooting isn't about the gun, Claudia, he had told her. It's about breathing. It's about patience. It's about knowing that when you pull that trigger, you're committing to something permanent, something that can't be undone. He had died when she was 19. Training accident, the Navy had said. Parachute malfunction during a halo jump. Just one of those tragic things that happened in a profession where men push the boundaries of human capability. She had believed that for 15 years. Through her scope, she watched the extraction team emerge from the target compound. 8 operators moving in tactical formation, Navy SEALs from Team 7, the best of the best, moving with the fluid efficiency of men who had trained together until they could communicate without words. In the center of the formation, supported by 2 operators, was a 9th man, Petty Officer First Class Marcus Reed. He was stumbling, clearly injured. Blood darkened his left leg. His movements were uncoordinated. Shock or pain or both. Claudia's job was simple. Provide overwatch. Eliminate any threats that emerged. Cover the team's movement to the extraction point where 2 Blackhawks waited in the darkness 3 kilometers north. Simple, clean, routine. Except nothing about tonight had been routine. The mission brief had been classified at a level she had never seen before. Special access program. Compartmentalized information. Need to know only. The target wasn't Taliban, wasn't Al-Qaeda, wasn't any of the usual suspects that American Special Operations Forces hunted through these mountains. The target was an Afghan provincial governor, officially an ally, a man who worked with American forces, a man whose compound should have been off limits. Claudia hadn't asked questions. SEALs didn't question. SEALs executed missions with precision and trusted that the intelligence was sound and the orders were lawful. But something had felt wrong from the beginning. Her radio crackled again. Overwatch, this is ground actual. Ground actual. That was Lieutenant Commander Sarah Vance, the mission commander. A woman Claudia had known for 8 years. A mentor who had helped her navigate the male-dominated world of naval special warfare. A superior officer whose judgment Claudia had never questioned. Until tonight. Go ahead, actual, Claudia responded. We have a problem. Reed is compromised. Claudia's finger tensed on the trigger guard. Not on the trigger itself. Never on the trigger until you were ready to fire. That was rule number 1. Define compromised. He witnessed the termination of the primary target. He's showing signs of emotional distress, making statements about the mission parameters, questioning the authorization. Through her scope, Claudia could see Reed more clearly now. He was talking, gesturing. The operators supporting him were trying to keep him quiet, keep him moving. But he was agitated. Actual, he's wounded, probably in shock. Once we get him back to base, medical can... Negative, Overwatch. This is an insurance situation. Confirm you understand insurance protocol. The words hit Claudia like a physical blow. Insurance protocol. She had heard the term before, whispered in the spaces between official briefings, discussed in the kind of conversations that happen in secure facilities where no recording devices were permitted. Insurance protocol call was what happened when an operator witnessed something they weren't supposed to see, something that could compromise national security if it became public, something that powerful people needed to remain secret. Insurance protocol meant the witness didn't come home. Say again, actual. I want to make sure I'm reading you correctly. Vance's voice was cold, professional, the voice of someone who had made difficult decisions before and would make them again. You are authorized to take an insurance shot on Petty Officer Reed. Target is the individual being supported by Ground 2 and Ground 5. Range approximately 2,100 meters. You have a clean line of sight. Execute on my mark. Claudia's heart was pounding now. The scope's reticle was centered on Marcus Reed's chest. At this range with this rifle, the shot was well within her capability. The .50 BMG round would hit with devastating force. Death would be instantaneous. Reed would never know what happened. The perfect assassination masquerading as enemy fire. Actual requesting clarification on the authorization chain for insurance protocol. Overwatch, this comes from the highest level. This mission is classified Special Access Program. Reed's compromise represents an unacceptable security risk. You are ordered to execute the insurance shot. Do you copy? Through the scope, Claudia could see Reed's face. He was young, 29 years old. She had read his file during mission prep. Married. 2 kids, a wife named Jennifer who taught 2nd grade in Virginia Beach. He had joined the Navy at 18, made it through BUD/S on his first attempt. 5 deployments, 42 combat operations, a stellar record. And now he was being sentenced to death because he had seen something he wasn't supposed to see. Overwatch, do you copy? Execute the shot. Claudia's finger moved to the trigger. Years of training, muscle memory, the mechanical sequence of actions that culminated in a bullet leaving the barrel at 3,000 feet per second. But she didn't pull the trigger. Instead, she adjusted her aim, scanned the surrounding terrain, looking for something else, some other threat, some legitimate reason to fire that didn't involve murdering a wounded American SEAL. And she found it. 300 meters south of the extraction team moving through an irrigation ditch. 4 figures, armed, moving with tactical purpose toward the SEAL's route. Actual hostile forces. Actual, this is Overwatch. I have eyes on 4 hostiles 300 meters south of your position. They're moving to intercept. I can engage. Negative, Overwatch. Your priority target is Reed. Execute the insurance shot immediately. That is a direct order. Claudia's mind was racing. Everything her father had taught her, everything she had learned in 15 years of service, everything she believed about honor and duty and the oath she had taken. I swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Was Marcus Reed an enemy? Was a wounded SEAL who had witnessed something disturbing an enemy of the Constitution? Or were the people giving this order the real enemies? Overwatch, you are in violation of a direct order. Execute the shot or face court-martial for insubordination and treason. Claudia made her choice. She adjusted her aim to the hostile forces, compensated for wind and distance, let her breathing slow, let her heartbeat steady, and fired. The rifle bucked against her shoulder. The suppressor reduced the sound to a manageable level, but the crack of the supersonic round still split the night. 1,800 meters downrange, the lead hostile's chest exploded in a spray of blood and bone. He dropped instantly. Claudia worked the bolt, ejected the spent casing, chambered another round, all in less than 2 seconds. The second hostile turned, trying to locate the shooter. Fatal mistake. Claudia's bullet caught him in the throat. He fell backward into the ditch. The third and fourth hostiles scattered. Claudia tracked one, fired. The round hit him in the hips, spinning him around. He fell, not dead, but out of the fight. The fourth hostile disappeared behind a wall. Smart. He wasn't giving her a shot. Overwatch, what the hell are you doing? Your target is Reed. Claudia keyed her mic. Actual, I just eliminated 3 hostiles who were about to ambush your position. The 4th is suppressed. Your route to exfil is clear. I suggest you move now before more show up. You just violated a direct order. I just saved your team from an ambush. You can file whatever report you want when we get back. But right now, I suggest you extract your people before this valley fills up with every Taliban fighter within 10 clicks who heard those shots. The silence on the radio was heavy with rage and calculation. Then ground team moved to exfil, double time. Through her scope, Claudia watched the SEALs accelerate their movement. Reed was still being supported, still stumbling, but they were moving faster now. Fear was an excellent motivator. Claudia swept her scope across to the surrounding area, looking for more threats, looking for any excuse to fire that wasn't executing one of her own. But mostly she was thinking about her father. Master Chief Daniel Portman had died 15 years ago in a training accident, parachute malfunction, just one of those tragic things. But what if it wasn't? What if he had seen something he wasn't supposed to see? What if he had refused an insurance shot? What if he had made the same choice she had just made? What if his training accident was murder? The extraction team reached the Blackhawks 12 minutes later. Claudia watched through her scope as they loaded Reed into the first aircraft. He was still alive, still moving, still a threat to whatever secret was so important that people were willing to kill to protect it. The helicopters lifted off, rotor wash creating dust devils in the green glow of her night vision. They banked north, running lights off, disappearing into the darkness like ghosts. Claudia was alone on the mountain. She began her own extraction, breaking down her position, policing her brass, leaving no evidence that an American sniper had been here. Standard operating procedure. But even as she moved through the familiar routine, she knew that everything had changed. She had disobeyed a direct order, had chosen conscience over command, had valued one SEAL's life over the mission parameters that someone at a very high level had established. There would be consequences. She reached her extraction point 40 minutes later, a small clearing where a single Blackhawk waited. The pilot was someone she didn't know. His face was hidden behind his helmet visor. No names, no small talk, just professional silence. The flight back to the forward operating base took 38 minutes. Claudia spent the time thinking about Marcus Reed, about what he had seen, about why it was worth killing him to keep it secret. The governor they had killed tonight was named Ahmad Rabbani. Claudia had read his file too, officially an ally, a man who worked with American forces to provide intelligence on Taliban movements, a man who had been useful. So why execute him? What had he known? What had he seen? What had made him too dangerous to live? And more importantly, what had Marcus Reed witnessed during that execution? The Black Hawk touched down at FOB Shank at 1:47 hours. Claudia grabbed her gear and moved toward the operations building. The base was quiet. Most personnel were asleep. Just the essential staff maintaining watch over a facility that housed 300 American and coalition forces. She had expected to be met by Vance, expected a confrontation, expected consequences for her refusal to follow orders. Instead, she was met by two military police officers. Master Chief Portman, that's me. You're ordered to come with us. You're being placed under arrest pending investigation. Claudia didn't resist, didn't argue. She had known this was coming. They took her rifle, her sidearm, her gear, everything except the clothes on her back. They escorted her to a detention facility, a small building at the edge of the base. Concrete walls, barred windows, a steel door that locked from the outside. The cell was 8 feet by 10 feet. A cot, a toilet, a sink. Nothing else. Someone will be along to talk to you in the morning, one of the MPS said. Until then, get some rest. The door closed. The lock engaged. Claudia was alone. She sat on the cot and stared at the concrete wall, thinking about her father, about Marcus Reed, about the choice she had made on that mountain. She thought about her daughter. Emma was 14 years old, living with Claudia's mother in Virginia Beach, a girl who had spent most of her life with a mother who was deployed more often than she was home, a girl who had learned to say goodbye without crying because crying didn't bring mom home any faster. What would Emma think if she knew what her mother had done tonight? Would she understand? Would she be proud? Would she think Claudia was a hero or a traitor? Claudia didn't know, but she knew that she couldn't have made any other choice. She couldn't have put a bullet through Marcus Reed's chest just because someone with stars on their shoulders had decided he was inconvenient. That wasn't what SEALs did. That wasn't what honor meant. That wasn't what her father would have done. She laid down on the cot and closed her eyes. Sleep wouldn't come. Her mind was too active. Too many questions. Too many variables. But exhaustion was a patient hunter. Eventually it caught her. She woke to the sound of the door opening. The light was different. Morning, she had slept for several hours. A man entered the cell. He wasn't military. Civilian clothes. Khaki pants, blue button-down shirt. Late 30s Asian features carrying a briefcase. He had the look of a lawyer or a bureaucrat. Master Chief Portman, I'm James Chen. I'm a JAG officer assigned to your case. JAG. Judge Advocate General, military legal system. This was moving fast. Chen sat down on the edge of the cot. His movements were careful, precise. The movements of someone who understood that every gesture was being evaluated. I've reviewed the incident report from last night's operation. Lieutenant Commander Vance has filed charges against you for insubordination, failure to follow a direct order, and conduct prejudicial to good order and discipline. These are serious charges that could result in a court-martial and significant prison time. Claudia sat up. What happened to Reed? Petty Officer Reed is in the medical facility. He's stable. His injuries are not life-threatening. What's he saying? Chen opened his briefcase and pulled out a file. He looked at Claudia for a long moment, as if trying to decide how much to tell her. That's complicated. Uncomplicated. Reed claims that his team executed Governor Rabbani without authorization. That Rabbani wasn't the target, that the actual target was killed in the compound, and Rabbani witnessed it. That when Rabbani confronted the team demanding to know why they had killed a man in his home, they executed him too. That Reed protested and they told him to keep his mouth shut. That when he refused, Vance gave the order for you to eliminate him as an insurance liability. The words confirmed everything Claudia had suspected. Who was the actual target? Who did they kill in Rabbani's compound? I can't tell you that. It's classified above my clearance level. But you know this is real. You know Reed is telling the truth. Chen closed the file. I know that Reed is saying things that are going to get people in serious trouble if they're true. I know that Vance is saying Reed is suffering from PTSD and trauma-induced psychosis, that his account is unreliable, that you refused a lawful order to provide covering fire during an extraction, that your insubordination put the entire team at risk. And which story do you believe? Chen looked at her with eyes that had seen things he wished he hadn't. I believe that the truth is more complicated than either version. I believe that you're in serious danger. I believe that refusing that insurance shot was either the bravest or stupidest thing you could have done. And I believe that what happens next is going to determine whether you spend the rest of your life in prison or become the most important witness in the biggest military scandal since Abu Ghraib. Claudia stood up, paced the small cell. Her mind was working through the implications. How long have insurance shots been happening? I can't answer that. Can't or won't? Both. But I can tell you that Reed isn't the first operator to witness something he wasn't supposed to see. And you're not the first person to question whether insurance protocol is legal. What happened to the others? Chen's silence was answer enough. Claudia felt ice in her veins. They're dead. Most of them, training accidents, combat casualties, one committed suicide. At least that's what the official reports say. And my father, Chen's eyes widened slightly. Your father, Master Chief Daniel Portman, Medal of Honor recipient, died in a parachute malfunction 15 years ago. Was his death an accident or was it insurance? Chen opened his briefcase again, pulled out another file, this one older, more worn. I pulled your father's service record when I was assigned your case. I wanted to understand who you were. What made you the kind of person who would refuse an order like that? He handed her the file. Your father was investigating irregularities in weapons shipments to Afghan allies. He discovered that high-value weapon systems were disappearing. Stinger missiles, Javelin anti-tank systems, advanced optics and communications gear. Estimated value of over $2 billion in missing equipment. Claudia opened the file, saw her father's handwriting. Notes, questions, suspicions. He was scheduled to brief SOCOM command about his findings. He died 3 days before that briefing. Chen nodded. Parachute malfunction. Except your father had over 1,000 jumps. He was a master rigger. He packed his own chutes. The investigation concluded it was equipment failure, a manufacturing defect in the parachute that couldn't have been detected. Just one of those tragic accidents. But you don't believe that. I believe that your father discovered something that powerful people wanted kept secret. I believe that he was eliminated before he could expose it. And I believe that the same people who killed him are the ones who gave the order for you to kill Marcus Reed. Claudia sat back down on the cot. The file in her hands felt heavy, like it contained not just paper but the weight of 15 years of lies. Who are they? I don't have all the names, but I know it goes high, very high. Generals, defense contractors, politicians, people with the resource and authority to make problems disappear. And what do they want with Reed? Reed saw something in Rabbani's compound. Something that connects to what your father was investigating. The missing weapons. The illegal sales, the conspiracy that's been operating for at least 15 years and probably longer. What did he see? Chen hesitated, then made a decision. The man they killed in Rabbani's compound was a Pakistani ISI colonel, Inner Services Intelligence, Pakistan's version of the CIA. He was there buying weapons, American weapons, Stinger missiles specifically. Rabbani was the middleman. The deal was being conducted in his compound under the protection of his position as a provincial governor, an American ally. Claudia felt sick. Americans were selling Stinger missiles to Pakistani intelligence, the same people who support the Taliban, the same people who sheltered bin Laden. Not Americans plural, specific Americans, military officers, defense contractors, people who have been using the war in Afghanistan as a cover for the biggest illegal arms dealing operation in history. And Reed witnessed the transaction. He witnessed the transaction, and he witnessed the SEAL team execute both the ISI colonel and governor of Al-Mani to eliminate witnesses. He has helmet cam footage, everything recorded, names, faces, serial numbers on the weapons cases, everything you would need to prosecute the biggest military corruption case since Vietnam. Claudia's mind was reeling. The implications were staggering. Where's the footage? Reed encrypted it and uploaded it to a secure server before the mission ended. He knew something was wrong. He knew they were going to kill him. So he made sure the evidence couldn't be destroyed even if he was. And now they want him dead before he can testify. They want him dead. They want the footage destroyed. They want everyone who knows about this silenced. That includes you, Master Chief. You're not under arrest because you refuse an order. You're under arrest because they need time to decide how to eliminate you quietly. As if on cue, the building shook. A massive explosion. Close. Very close. The lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in. Red. Dim. Chen was on his feet instantly. That's not supposed to happen. Another explosion. Closer this time. The concrete walls trembled. Claudia could hear shouting, alarms, the sound of automatic weapons fire. We're under attack, she said. But even as she said it, she knew it wasn't true. The Taliban didn't attack FOB Shank. The base was too well defended, too heavily guarded. This wasn't an attack. This was an execution. Chen pulled out a phone, tried to make a call, no signal. Jammed. Someone is jamming all communications. More explosions. The detention facility was taking fire. Claudia could hear the distinct sound of 40mm grenades. American weapons. This isn't the Taliban, Claudia said. This is us. This is American forces attacking in this building. Chen's face went pale. They're not waiting to decide. They're eliminating you now, making it look like enemy action. No investigation, no questions, just another casualty of war. The door to her cell was solid steel, locked from the outside. But the explosions had weakened the structure. Claudia could see cracks forming in the concrete around the frame. We need to get out of here, she said. Chen looked at the door, at the walls, at the window with its steel bars. How? Claudia picked up the metal cot. It wasn't heavy, but it was solid. She swung it at the window. Once, twice. The bars held, but the concrete around them was crumbling. Third swing, the bars tore free. Go! Claudia shoved Chen toward the window. He climbed through. Claudia followed. They emerged into chaos. The detention facility was on fire. 3 other buildings were burning. Claudia could see bodies, American soldiers, killed by the explosions. This wasn't just about eliminating her. This was about eliminating everyone who might ask questions, about creating enough destruction and confusion that no one would be able to piece together what really happened. This way, Chen was running toward the motor pool. Claudia followed. They reached a Humvee. Chen pulled open the door, keys in the ignition. Someone had left it running. Too convenient. It's a trap, Claudia said. But there was no other option. Stay and die in the attack, or take the bait and hope they could escape. They climbed in. Chen hit the accelerator. The Humvee crashed through the perimeter fence. Alarms screamed. Searchlights swept the darkness. And then they were beyond the fence, beyond the base, racing into the Afghan night with no plan and no destination except away. Behind them, FOB Shank burned. Claudia looked back and saw what 15 years of service had earned her. Not honor, not respect, not the gratitude of a nation she had bled for. Just a target on her back and the certainty that the people she had trusted were trying to kill her. She thought about her father, about his investigation, about his death. She thought about Marcus Reed, about the footage he had encrypted, about the conspiracy he had uncovered. She thought about Emma, about her daughter who would wake up tomorrow to the news that her mother was dead. killed in a Taliban attack, a hero who had made the ultimate sacrifice. Another lie in a long chain of lies. Chen drove for 2 hours, through villages that were dark and silent, along roads that were barely more than dirt tracks, away from American forces, away from Taliban strongholds, away from anyone who might be looking for them. Finally, he pulled into a compound on the outskirts of Jalalabad, an anonymous building that could have been a warehouse or a workshop or a home, the kind of place that existed in the spaces between official maps. "Where are we?" Claudia asked. "Safe house, sort of. A friend owes me a favor. We can stay here until I figure out our next move." "Our next move, you're supposed to be my JAG officer. You're supposed to be defending me at a court-martial, not helping me escape." Chen turned off the engine, sat in the darkness. "I'm not really a JAG officer." Claudia's hand went to where her sidearm should have been, but she was unarmed. They had taken everything when they arrested her. "Then who are you?" "FBI Special Agent James Chen. I've been investigating military corruption for 3 years, working undercover, building a case. I was getting close to something big. Then you refused that insurance shot and everything accelerated. The attack on the FOB, that was because of me. That was because they panicked. Because you refusing that order meant they couldn't control the narrative, meant Reed might survive to testify, meant their operation was exposed. So they decided to burn everything, kill everyone who knew, start fresh." "Reed, is he alive?" Chen pulled out a different phone, encrypted, satellite connection. He made a call, listened. His face told Claudia everything she needed to know before he spoke. "Reed is dead, died in the medical facility during the attack, officially killed by enemy fire. Except the medical facility wasn't hit. He was in a secure ward, protected, safe. They murdered him. They murdered him, and they would have murdered you if we hadn't gotten out when we did." Claudia felt rage building, pure, clean, focused. "The footage, Reed's helmet, cam footage. Where is it?" He encrypted it and sent it to his wife. "She doesn't know what it is, doesn't know what's on it. She thinks it's just personal videos, home movies, the kind of things soldiers record to send back to their families." "Where is she?" "Virginia Beach, same city where your daughter lives." Claudia looked at Chen, at this FBI agent who had been playing a role, who had been investigating corruption while wearing the uniform of the organization he was investigating. "We need to get to Virginia Beach. We need to get that footage, and we need to make sure Emma is safe." "Agreed, but there's a problem. You're officially dead. I checked while we were driving. The base sent out notifications. Killed in action. Taliban attack. Your mother has been informed. Your daughter has been informed. There will be a memorial service, a flag, the whole ceremony." "Dead." Officially, Claudia Portman no longer existed. "Good," she said. Chen looked at her with confusion. "Good. If they think I'm dead, they won't be looking for me. Won't be hunting me. I can move freely, can get to Virginia Beach, can protect Emma, can get the footage, can finish what my father started." "That's not how it works. Your fingerprints are in the system. Your DNA, your biometrics. The moment you try to enter the U.S., you'll be flagged. Then we don't enter legally." Chen smiled. It was a grim smile, the smile of someone who had crossed too many lines to worry about crossing one more. "I can arrange that, but you need to understand something. Once we do this, there's no going back. You'll be a fugitive, a ghost, someone who doesn't exist in any official database. You'll never be able to come back from this." Claudia thought about her father, about the 15 years she had believed his death was an accident, about the conspiracy that had killed him and tried to kill her and murdered Marcus Reed. She thought about Emma, about her daughter who deserved to live in a world where truth mattered, where justice wasn't just a word, where people who served their country weren't executed for doing the right thing. "Then let's make sure it's worth it," she said. Chen nodded, pulled out his phone again, made arrangements that Claudia couldn't hear clearly, conversations in languages she didn't speak with people she would never meet. When he finished, he looked at her. "We leave in 6 hours. There's a cargo plane flying medical supplies to Ramstein Air Base in Germany. From there, we can get you on a civilian flight to the U.S. False passport, false identity. You'll be a ghost. What about you?" "I stay here. Continue the investigation. Build the case. But I need that footage. I need evidence that can stand up in court. Without it, all we have are accusations, conspiracy theories, the kind of thing that gets dismissed as the ramblings of disgruntled soldiers." 6 hours. Claudia spent them thinking about what came next, about the woman she had been and the woman she was becoming, about the oath she had taken and the oath that others had broken. She thought about the shot she hadn't taken, the bullet that hadn't ended Marcus Reed's life, the choice that had cost her everything she had built over 15 years of service. And she thought about the shots she would have to take in the future, the impossible distances, the unforgiving conditions, the targets who wouldn't be enemy combatants but fellow Americans, people who wore the uniform and betrayed everything it stood for. When the time came to leave, Chen handed her a package. Passport, credit cards, background identity. You're Sarah Mitchell, pharmaceutical sales rep, traveling home from a conference in Dubai. Memorize the details, live the cover, become her. Claudia took the package, studied the passport photo. It was her face, but different. Hair color changed digitally. Eye color altered. Small differences that would pass facial recognition, but would make her unrecognizable to anyone who knew her. Thank you, she said. Chen shook his head. Don't thank me. I'm using you. Using your anger. Using your need for justice. Because I need that footage and I need someone who has enough reason to risk everything to get it. My brother was a SEAL, he continued. Petty Officer First Class David Chen. He died 3 years ago, training accident, drowned during a dive exercise. Except David was a master diver, had over 500 dives. The kind of guy who could hold his breath for 4 minutes and navigate underwater in complete darkness. Chen's voice was tight with emotion. I didn't believe it was an accident, so I requested the investigation file, and I found irregularities, questions that weren't asked, evidence that wasn't collected, witnesses who disappeared before they could be interviewed. So I started investigating, and I found a pattern. SEALs dying in training accidents, Rangers killed in vehicle rollovers, Delta operators lost in parachute malfunctions. All of them had one thing in common. They had served on classified missions, missions that involved questionable actions, missions where they might have seen something they weren't supposed to see. Insurance shots, Claudia said quietly. Insurance shots, except sometimes the insurance wasn't a bullet in the field. Sometimes it was an accident back home, a training incident, a suicide, whatever method was convenient and wouldn't raise questions. How many? I've documented 47 deaths over 8 years that fit the pattern. But I think the real number is much higher. Could be hundreds, going back decades. A systematic program to eliminate anyone who might expose what's really happening in our special operations community. Claudia felt the weight of that number. 47 families who believed their sons and husbands and fathers had died serving their country. 47 funerals with flags and honors and 21 gun salutes. All lies. We're going to stop this, she said. We're going to expose every person involved. We're going to make sure your brother and my father and Marcus Reed didn't die for nothing. Chen looked at her with eyes that held both hope and despair. I want to believe that. I want to believe that the system can be fixed, that justice can win, that the truth matters. But you don't? But I've seen too much corruption. Too much power protecting itself. Too many good people destroyed by bad orders. I don't know if we can win this fight. I only know we have to try. The cargo plane took off at dawn. Claudia was hidden among medical supplies. Boxes of medications and equipment being shipped to American military hospitals in Europe. She lay in the darkness and listened to the engines and thought about the journey ahead. Virginia Beach, Emma, the footage, and then the reckoning. The people who had killed her father. The people who had tried to kill her, the generals and contractors and politicians who had turned America's special operations forces into a private assassination squad and an illegal arms-dealing network. They thought she was dead, thought the threat was eliminated, thought they could continue operating with impunity. They were wrong. Master Chief Petty Officer Claudia Portman was dead, killed in action, a hero who had made the ultimate sacrifice. But the woman on this cargo plane flying toward an uncertain future with nothing but rage and determination, in the memory of her father's smile, she was very much alive. And she was coming for them all. The plane climbed higher, above the mountains where she had refused to take the shot, above the desert where her father had died, above the lies and the corruption and the bodies buried under the weight of classified secrets. Somewhere below, the sun was rising on another day of war. But Claudia Portman was done fighting other people's wars. Now she was fighting her own, and she would not stop until every person responsible paid the price for what they had done, no matter how long it took, no matter what it kicked the commands, no matter how many impossible shots she had to take. This was her mission now. This was her oath. This was her war. and she had every intention of winning. Claudia woke to the sound of rain, not the hard-driving rain of the Hindu Kush Mountains, not the monsoon rain of Afghanistan that turned dirt roads into rivers of mud. This was tropical rain, warm, heavy, the kind that fell from gray skies and turned cities into steam baths. She opened her eyes and saw white ceiling tiles, fluorescent lights, the antiseptic smell of a hospital. For a moment, she thought she was back at FOB Shank, that the explosions and the escape in the cargo plane had all been a fever dream, that she would sit up and find herself in the medical ward being treated for injuries she couldn't remember sustaining. But then she saw the window. Through the rain, she could see unfamiliar buildings, high-rises with Asian architecture, streets packed with cars and motorcycles, a city she didn't recognize. A man entered the room, James Chen, but he looked different. Civilian clothes, no longer pretending to be a JAG officer, just a federal agent who had crossed too many lines to ever go back. "You're awake. Good. We need to move." Claudia sat up. Her head throbbed. "Where are we?" "Jakarta, Indonesia. You've been unconscious for 18 hours. 18 hours? What happened?" The cargo plane was intercepted over the Arabian Sea, two F-16IS from the carrier group in the Persian Gulf. They ordered us to divert to a U.S. military facility. I had to make a choice. Let them take us or do something desperate. Claudia looked at him. "How desperate?" "I drugged you." Heavy sedation. Then I convinced the pilot to make an emergency medical landing in Jakarta. Claimed you were having a cardiac episode. Needed immediate medical attention. By the time the F-16s figured out what was happening, we were already in Indonesian airspace. They couldn't follow without causing an international incident. Claudia processed this. Chen had saved her life, again. But at what cost? The pilot. What happened to him? "He's fine, probably being debriefed by very angry people at Ramstein right now. But he didn't know who you really were. Thought he was helping save a civilian having a medical emergency. He's clean." "And how did we get from the airport to here?" Chen sat down in the chair beside her bed. He looked exhausted, like a man who hadn't slept in days and wasn't sure when he would sleep again. "I have resources, people who owe me favors. The agency trains you to build networks, to cultivate assets, to maintain relationships that can be leveraged when you need them. I called in every favor I had to get us here safely." "Why Jakarta?" "Because it's outside American military jurisdiction. Because Indonesia doesn't have an extradition treaty with the U.S. for military personnel. Because it's a city of 10 million people where 2 Americans can disappear into the crowd. And because I have a contact here, someone who specializes in making problems disappear." As if summoned by the mention, the door opened again. The woman who entered was Indonesian, late 40s, professional suit, the kind of person who could have been a corporate executive or a government minister or something else entirely. "Ah, she's awake. Good. We have much to discuss in very little time." Her English was perfect, British accented, the product of expensive international education. "Master Chief Portman, my name is Sari Wijaya. I am what you might call a facilitator. I help people who need to move through the world invisibly, for a price." Claudia looked at Chen. He nodded. Confirmation that this woman was trustworthy, or at least as trustworthy as anyone in this situation could be. "What kind of price?" Sari smiled. "Information. You see, I have clients all over the world. Governments, corporations, individuals. They pay me very well to help them understand what is happening in the shadows. And what is happening with you, Master Chief, is very interesting to certain parties. I'm not selling information. I'm not asking you to. Agent Chen has already provided me with enough detail to satisfy my immediate curiosity. What I'm offering is my services, travel documents, financial resources, safe passage to wherever you need to go, in exchange for something very simple. Which is, when this is over, when you have exposed whatever conspiracy you've stumbled into, I want the full story. Not the sanitized version that will appear in congressional hearings, not the redacted reports that intelligence agencies will release. The real truth, who was involved, how it worked, where the money went, everything." Claudia studied the woman's face, trying to read motivation, trying to understand whether this was an ally or another trap. "Why, what do you care about American military corruption?" "Because corruption doesn't respect borders, Master Chief. The weapons your countrymen were selling, some of them ended up in my country. Used in terrorist attacks, used to destabilize governments, used to kill people who had nothing to do with Afghanistan or America or your endless wars. I want to know who is responsible. I want to ensure they face consequences. And I want to make sure my clients know which American officials can be trusted and which ones are criminals. It was cold logic, transactional, but it was honest. Deal, Claudia said. Sari pulled out a tablet, showed Claudia a series of documents. Sarah Mitchell, pharmaceutical sales representative, American passport, credit cards, complete background, bank account with $50,000, airline reservations to Virginia Beach via Los Angeles. You leave in 6 hours. 6 hours. We don't have more time than that. Your people are very good at finding ghosts. I can hide you from them, but not forever. The longer you stay in one place, the greater the risk they'll locate you. Chen stood up. I'm not going with you. I need to stay here. Continue building the case. I have sources to contact, evidence to gather, but you need to get to Virginia Beach. Find Reed's widow. Get the helmet cam footage. That's the key to everything. What about Emma, my daughter? They know she exists. They know where she lives. I've already taken care of that. Chen pulled out his phone, showed her a photograph. Emma, her beautiful daughter, sitting in what looked like a hotel room, olive, safe, looking confused but unharmed. I have a colleague, Sarah Webb, former CIA operations officer. She specializes in protective custody. I contacted her while you were unconscious. She extracted Emma from your mother's house 3 hours ago. Told her it was a special program for children of deployed service members. Emma thinks she's on an educational trip. She doesn't know you're dead, doesn't know about any of this. Relief flooded through Claudia. Emma was safe, protected by someone who understood the danger. Where is she? I can't tell you. If I tell you and they catch you and they interrogate you, you'll compromise her location. Better that you don't know. Trust that Sarah will keep her safe until this is over. It went against every instinct Claudia had. Not knowing where her daughter was, not being able to protect her directly. But Chen was right. Knowledge was a liability. The less she knew, the less she could reveal under duress. When this is over, Claudia said, I want her back. I want my daughter back. And I want a life where I can actually be her mother instead of a ghost she sees twice a year. When this is over, Chen replied, you'll get exactly that, I promise. The next 6 hours passed in preparation. Sari provided clothes, makeup, instructions on how to behave like Sarah Mitchell, how to carry herself, how to respond to questions, how to be someone else. Claudia had done undercover work before, had posed as civilians during operations. But this was different. This wasn't a mission that would end in hours or days. This was a new identity that she might have to maintain for months or years. She studied her reflection in the bathroom mirror. The woman looking back was familiar but foreign. Same face, different hair color, different expression, different person. Sarah Mitchell didn't have a daughter waiting in protective custody. Sarah Mitchell didn't have a father who had been murdered by his own government. Sarah Mitchell didn't have 47 names burning in her memory. SEALs and Rangers and Delta operators who had died because they knew too much. Sarah Mitchell was nobody, which made her perfect. At 1400 hours local time, Sari drove her to the airport. Commercial terminal, Garuda Indonesia flight to Los Angeles, then a connecting flight to Norfolk International. The passport will pass automated systems, Sari said as she pulled up to departures. Biometrics have been adjusted enough that facial recognition won't flag you. But if you're pulled aside for secondary screening, if a human looks closely, they might see through it. So don't give them a reason to look closely. I understand. One more thing. Sari handed her a small phone, encrypted. This has one number programmed. Agent Chen, if you need help, call. If you're compromised, call. If you get the footage, call. Don't use it for anything else. Every transmission is a risk. Claudia took the phone, slipped it into her purse along with the passport and credit cards, and all the other pieces of Sarah Mitchell's fabricated life. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Thank me when you've survived long enough to tell me the whole story. The flight to Los Angeles took 16 hours. Claudia spent them in a state of hypervigilance, masked as sleep. Eyes closed, breathing steady. But her mind was racing through scenarios and contingencies and threats. The in-flight entertainment system showed news. CNN International. She watched with one earbud in volume low as the anchors discussed world events. Afghanistan. Another attack. FOB Shank had been hit by Taliban forces. 15 dead, 47 wounded. Among the casualties, Master Chief Petty Officer Claudia Portman, Navy SEAL, 15 years of service, died defending her fellow service members. They showed her official photo, the one from her personnel file, dress blues, ribbons and medals, the face of someone who had given everything for her country. The commentators praised her service, called her a hero, discussed the sacrifice that Special Operations Forces made every day in the endless war on terror. None of them knew the truth. None of them knew she had been murdered for refusing to commit murder. None of them knew that the same organization that was praising her service had tried to kill her to keep her silent. Claudia watched her own funeral play out on a 5-inch screen at 37,000 feet. Watched the lies being constructed in real time. Watched her daughter's face in the background of a clip from Virginia Beach. Emma standing with Claudia's mother, both of them crying. Emma believed her mother was dead, believed she would never see her again, believed the lie that Claudia had died a hero's death. Someday Claudia would explain the truth, would tell Emma about the choice she had made, about the shot she had refused to take, about the conspiracy she had uncovered. But not today. Today Emma needed to grieve, needed to believe her mother was gone. Because if the people hunting Claudia believed Emma was just another grieving daughter, they might leave her alone. Might. The flight landed at LAX at 8 in the morning local time. Claudia cleared customs without incident. Sarah Mitchell's passport scanned clean. No flags, no alerts. Just another American returning from a business trip overseas. She had 4 hours before her connecting flight to Norfolk. She used the time to think about Marcus Reed's widow, Jennifer Reed, second-grade teacher, mother of 2, 31 years old. According to the file that Chen had compiled, she lived in Virginia Beach. Same neighborhood where Claudia's mother lived. Small world, or perhaps not. Military families tended to cluster together, found comfort in proximity to people who understood the deployments and the fear and the unique pressures of loving someone who lived in constant danger. Jennifer didn't know she had evidence that could bring down a massive conspiracy. Didn't know her dead husband had encrypted footage of an assassination. Thought the files he had sent her were just personal videos, home movies, the kind of things soldiers recorded to leave behind in case they didn't come home. Claudia would have to approach her carefully. Couldn't just knock on the door and ask for classified evidence. Had to build trust. Had to make Jennifer understand that her husband's death wasn't enemy action, was murder, was part of something bigger and darker than anything she had imagined. The flight to Norfolk was short, 2.5 hours. Claudia landed at 1500 hours local time. Thursday afternoon, the sun was bright, the air was humid, East Coast summer in full force. She rented a car using Sarah Mitchell's credit card, a white Toyota Camry. Anonymous, forgettable, perfect. The drive to Virginia Beach took 30 minutes. Claudia knew these roads, had driven them hundreds of times, every time she came home between deployments, every time she visited Emma and her mother. But she couldn't go home now. Couldn't risk seeing her mother or Emma. Had to stay dead until the right moment. She drove past her mother's house, slowed just enough to see the black bunting on the door, the flag in the window, the mourning symbols that marked a military family's loss. Her chest tightened, but she kept driving. Jennifer Reed's house was 3 miles away. A small ranch-style home in a neighborhood of identical small ranch-style homes. Chain-link fences, modest yards. The kind of place where junior enlisted families lived on tight budgets and hope. Claudia parked 2 blocks away, watched the house through the Camry's rearview mirror, looking for surveillance, for watchers, for any indication that the people hunting her had gotten here first. Nothing obvious, but they were professionals. If they were watching, they would be invisible. She needed a cover story, a reason to approach Jennifer Reed that wouldn't raise suspicion. She pulled out Sarah Mitchell's phone, looked through the contacts that Sari had programmed, found what she needed. She called a number. It rang twice. Driftwood Elementary School. How may I direct your call? Hi, I'm trying to reach Jennifer Reed. I understand she teaches 2nd grade there. Mrs. Reed is on bereavement leave. She's not expected back until next month. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Is there a way I could contact her? I'm with the Navy Casualty Assistance Program. I have some paperwork regarding her husband's benefits that needs her signature. A pause. The kind of pause that came from someone trying to decide if they should give out personal information. I suppose I could give you her email address. She's been checking that. But please be respectful. She's going through a very difficult time. Of course, I understand completely. The secretary provided the email. Claudia thanked her and hung up. She drafted a message. Careful, respectful, professional. Dear Mrs. Reed, my name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm with the Navy Casualty Assistance Program. I'm very sorry for your loss. I need to discuss some matters regarding your husband's personal effects and benefits. Would it be possible to meet briefly? I'm in Virginia Beach today and tomorrow. I can come to your home at your convenience. She sent the email, then waited. 20 minutes later, her phone buzzed with a response. You can come by tomorrow morning at 10. Please be brief. I'm not feeling well. Claudia responded immediately. Of course. Tomorrow at 10. Thank you for your time. She had her meeting. Now she needed to prepare for what came next. That night, she stayed in a motel on the outskirts of Virginia Beach, the kind of place that took cash and didn't ask questions. She paid for 3 nights in advance using money that Sari had provided. The room was exactly what she expected. Stained carpet, thin walls, the smell of old cigarettes and disinfectant. But it was shelter, it was anonymous, it was safe enough for one night. She lay on the bed and thought about what she would say to Jennifer Reed, how she would explain that her husband had been murdered, how she would ask for evidence that could get both of them killed. There was no easy way to do it, no gentle approach, just hard truth and harder choices. Claudia fell asleep with the encrypted phone under her pillow and one eye on the door. She woke at 0500 hours, old habits, years of early mornings and pre-dawn operations. She showered, dressed in business casual clothes that Sarah Mitchell would wear. Navy blue slacks, white blouse, simple jewelry. The costume of a government bureaucrat. At 0945, she drove to Jennifer Reed's house. The widow answered the door in sweatpants and a navy t-shirt, Marcus's shirt probably. She looked exhausted, eyes red from crying, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. The face of someone whose world had collapsed and was trying to figure out how to keep breathing. Mrs. Reed, I'm Sarah Mitchell. Thank you for seeing me. Jennifer nodded, stepped aside, let Claudia enter. The house was small. Living room, kitchen, 2 bedrooms down a short hallway, children's toys scattered across the floor, photographs on every surface. Marcus in uniform, Marcus with Jennifer, Marcus with 2 small children who had his smile. A family frozen in time before everything changed. Can I get you anything? Coffee, water? Water would be great, thank you. Jennifer disappeared into the kitchen. Claudia used the moment to scan the room, looking for the personal effects that the Navy would have returned, looking for the package that contained Marcus's encrypted footage. She saw it on the dining table, a cardboard box, unopened, with personal effects stamped on the side. Jennifer returned with 2 glasses of water, handed one to Claudia. So you're with the Casualty Assistance Program? Not exactly, Claudia said. I lied to get you to see me. I'm sorry, but I need to talk to you about your husband, about how he really died. Jennifer's face went from grief to confusion to anger in the space of seconds. What are you talking about? Marcus died in Afghanistan, in an attack. I've seen the reports. The reports are lies. Marcus was murdered by Americans, by the same people who sent him on that mission, because he witnessed something he wasn't supposed to see. Jennifer set down her water glass. Her hand was shaking. Get out. Get out of my house right now or I'm calling the police. Please, just listen. Your husband sent you files before he died. Encrypted files. He told you they were personal videos, but they're not. They're evidence. Evidence of the biggest military corruption scandal in history. Evidence that powerful people are willing to kill to keep secret. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. Look at me, Jennifer. Really look at me. Jennifer looked, and Claudia saw the moment of recognition. You're her. You're Claudia Portman, the SEAL who died in the same attack. I didn't die. They tried to kill me, just like they killed Marcus. But I survived, and I'm here to finish what your husband started. Jennifer sat down heavily, processing, trying to reconcile what she was seeing with what she had been told. This is crazy. This is insane. You're supposed to be dead. I'm supposed to be dead. Marcus is supposed to be dead. 47 other operators are supposed to be dead. All of them killed because they knew too much. Because they saw things that threaten people who have the power to make problems disappear. What did Marcus see? Claudia sat down across from her, spoke quietly, carefully, telling the truth in a way that this grieving widow could process. He saw American military officers selling weapons to Pakistani intelligence, Stinger missiles, anti-tank systems, advanced technology that's supposed to be protecting our forces. Your husband witnessed the transaction, recorded it on his helmet cam, and when the people involved realized he had evidence, they ordered him killed. They ordered me to shoot him, to eliminate the witness. I refused, and that's why they tried to kill me too. Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. He told me something was wrong the night before the mission. He said something didn't feel right, that the briefing was off, that he was worried. I told him to trust his training, to come home safe. That's the last conversation we had. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Your husband was a good man, a brave man. He tried to do the right thing, and it got him killed. Why are you here? What do you want from me? I need the files he sent you, the encrypted footage. It's evidence. Evidence that can expose the people responsible. Evidence that can make sure your husband didn't die for nothing. Jennifer stood up, walked to the box on the dining table, opened it, pulled out a small hard drive. This is what got him killed. Yes, and it's what's going to bring down everyone responsible. Jennifer held the drive, stared at it like it was a live grenade. If I give this to you, what happens to me, to my children? Are we in danger? Claudia wanted to lie, wanted to say they would be safe, that giving up the evidence would protect them. But she had seen too much, knew too much, understood exactly how ruthless these people were. You're already in danger, whether you give me the drive or not. They know Marcus had footage. They know he sent it somewhere. Eventually they'll figure out he sent it to you, and when they do, they'll come. Not to ask nicely, to eliminate another potential witness. So we're dead either way. No, if you give me the drive, I can use it. I can expose them. I can make the evidence public in a way that makes killing you pointless. Once the truth is out, once the whole world knows you become a liability, they can't afford to eliminate. Too much attention, too many questions. Jennifer looked at the photographs of her husband, at the man who had died trying to do the right thing. He would want me to help you, would want me to make sure the truth came out, no matter what it cost. She handed Claudia the drive. Take it. Finish what he started. Make them pay for what they did. Claudia took the drive, felt the weight of it. This small piece of plastic and metal that contained evidence of murder and corruption and treason. Thank you. I promise I'll use this to... She never finished the sentence. The front window exploded inward. Glass shattered across the living room. 2 flashbang grenades rolled across the floor. Claudia's training took over. She grabbed Jennifer, pulled her down behind the couch, covered her ears and eyes. The grenades detonated. Blinding light, deafening sound, disorientation weapons designed to overwhelm the senses. Then men poured through the broken window. 4 of them, black tactical gear, body armor, advanced weapons, professional operators. Not military, private contractors. Claudia recognized the gear, the way they moved. This was Typhon Group, the private military company that handled operations the government wanted plausible deniability for. One of them grabbed Jennifer, pulled her up, zip-tied her wrists. 2 others came for Claudia. She fought. Years of hand-to-hand combat training, thousands of hours of close-quarters battle drills. She struck the first contractor's throat, drove her knee into the second contractor's groin, but they were armored, protected, and she was unarmed, outnumbered. A taser hit her in the side. 50,000 volts. Her muscles locked. She went down hard. They zip-tied her wrists, her ankles, searched her quickly and efficiently, found the encrypted phone, the hard drive. One of them spoke into a radio. Package secured. Both subjects in custody. Evidence recovered. Requesting extraction. A voice responded, female, familiar. Confirmed. Bring them to the facility. The general wants to ask them some questions personally. The contractor looked at Claudia, smiled behind his balaclava. Looks like you're not as dead as everyone thinks, Master Chief. The general is going to be very interested to hear how you pulled that off. They hauled Claudia and Jennifer to their feet, dragged them toward a panel van waiting in the driveway. As they were being loaded, Claudia saw neighbors watching, saw people pulling out phones to record, saw witnesses who could testify that 2 women had been kidnapped in broad daylight. But the contractors didn't care. They wore no identifying insignia. The van had no plates. By the time police arrived, they would be gone, and the witnesses would be told this was a classified federal operation. National security, don't ask questions. The van door slammed shut. Darkness, then the engine started, and they were moving. Jennifer was crying, terrified. What's happening? Who are these people? The people who killed your husband, Claudia said. The people I've been hunting. And apparently they knew I was coming. One of the contractors laughed. Of course we knew. You think you're the only one with sources, the only one with intelligence networks. We've been tracking you since Jakarta, watching every move, waiting for you to lead us to the evidence. And you walked right into the trap. Claudia felt rage and despair in equal measure. She had been so careful, had taken every precaution, but somehow they had known. Somehow they had been one step ahead. Unless the leak wasn't in her movements. Unless the leak was closer to the source. Unless James Chen wasn't who he claimed to be. No, she pushed that thought away. Chen had saved her life. Multiple times. He had no reason to betray her. But doubt was a poison. Once it entered your mind, it spread. The van drove for 90 minutes. Claudia counted turns, tried to track their heading. But without visual reference, it was impossible to know where they were going. Finally, the van stopped. The doors opened. They were pulled out into afternoon sunlight. Mountains, trees, the smell of pine. West Virginia, Claudia guessed. Somewhere in the Appalachians, far from witnesses, far from help. The facility was exactly what she expected. Former military installation. High fences, guard towers. The kind of place that officially didn't exist but housed operations that needed to stay off the books. They were taken inside, down concrete corridors, through security checkpoints, past armed guards who looked at them with the disinterest of men who had seen this before, who knew that people who entered this facility rarely left. Separate rooms, Jennifer in one cell, Claudia in another. The door closed, locked. Claudia was alone. The cell was 12 feet by 12 feet. Concrete walls, steel door, a cot, a toilet, no windows, no natural light, just fluorescent fixtures that hummed with electrical persistence. She tested the door, solid, no give, no weak points. She tested the walls, concrete, thick, soundproof. She tested her restraints, zip ties, professional grade, tight enough to be secure, but not tight enough to cut off circulation. They wanted her functional for interrogation. She sat on the cot and thought about her options. They were limited. She was unarmed, restrained, in a secure facility controlled by people who wanted her dead. The only reason she was still alive was because they wanted information first. Wanted to know who she had talked to, what she had told them, how much evidence existed beyond the hard drive they had recovered. Once they were satisfied, she had told them everything, she would be eliminated. A training accident, a suicide, another body to add to the count of special operators who died in the shadows. The door opened. A woman entered. Claudia recognized her immediately. Colonel Sarah Vance, the mission commander from Afghanistan. The woman who had given the order for the insurance shot. The woman who had mentored Claudia through the early years of her SEAL career. She looked the same. Sharp. Professional. The kind of officer who commanded respect through competence rather than rank. Hello, Claudia. You're looking well for a dead woman. Colonel, I wish I could say it's good to see you. Vance sat down on the edge of the cot, casual, like they were two old friends catching up. I always knew you were resourceful, but I have to admit, faking your death and escaping from Afghanistan was impressive. How did you do it? FBI, they have resources you don't know about. Agent Chen. Yes, we suspected he might be involved. We've been looking for him. He's proven quite elusive. You won't find him. Probably not. But we don't really need him. We have you. And once we're done with our conversation, we'll have everything we need to close this unfortunate chapter. Claudia looked at the woman who had been her mentor, trying to understand how someone she had respected had become someone who ordered the murder of her own people. Why, Colonel, why are you doing this? You're a SEAL. You took the same oath I did. How did you become this? Vance's expression didn't change. I became this because I understand something you don't. The world isn't black and white. It's not heroes and villains. It's complex. It's messy. And sometimes doing the right thing requires doing things that people like you find morally uncomfortable. Selling Stinger missiles to Pakistani intelligence isn't morally uncomfortable. It's treason. It's strategy. Pakistan is a nuclear power. They have intelligence assets throughout the Middle East and South Asia. They have relationships with groups we can't officially contact. And yes, they support the Taliban. But they also give us access we wouldn't have otherwise. So you sold them weapons that will be used against American forces. We traded them weapons in exchange for intelligence that saves American lives. It's a transaction, one that certain people in the Pentagon and State Department understand and approve. Then why murder the witnesses? Why kill Marcus Reed and my father and 47 other operators? If this is an approved strategy, why the secrecy? Vance stood up, paced the small cell. Because the American people don't understand nuance. They don't understand that sometimes we have to work with bad people to achieve good outcomes. They don't understand that their safety requires compromises they would find unacceptable if they knew the details. So we keep them ignorant. We make the hard choices. And yes, sometimes that means eliminating people who would expose those choices to scrutiny we can't afford. You're talking about my father. Vance looked at her with something that might have been sympathy. Your father was a good man, a great operator, but he couldn't see the bigger picture. He found evidence of the weapons program, couldn't accept that it was sanctioned, couldn't accept that sometimes the rules have to bend for the mission to succeed. He was going to blow the whistle, going to expose operations that keep Americans safe. We couldn't let that happen. So you killed him. I didn't. I wasn't involved in that operation. But yes, he was eliminated, made to look like a training accident, just like 47 others who couldn't accept the reality of what we do. Claudia felt tears burning, but refused to let them fall. And Marcus Reed, why him? Reed witnessed the transaction with the ISI colonel, recorded it, had evidence that could expose not just the weapons program, but the entire network. Defense contractors, Pentagon officials, Congressional Oversight Committee members, hundreds of people whose careers and fortunes depend on this operation continuing. We couldn't risk him testifying. So you ordered me to kill him. I gave you a direct order to execute an insurance shot. Standard protocol. You chose to disobey. You chose conscience over mission parameters. And that choice has consequences. What happens now? Vance walked to the door, knocked twice. It opened. Now you tell us everything. Who you've talked to, what evidence exists, what Chen knows, what his network looks like. You tell us everything, and then we'll make your death quick. Painless. A mercy you don't really deserve, but I'm willing to grant for old time's sake. And if I don't tell you anything, then we hurt Jennifer Reed in front of you until you do. She has 2 children, Claudia. 2 kids who need their mother. You can spare her a lot of pain by cooperating. Claudia stood up, faced her former mentor. You're going to torture a widow to get information from me, and you still think you're the good guys. I don't think we're good guys. I know we're necessary. There's a difference. Good guys follow rules. Necessary people do what needs to be done regardless of rules. The world needs both. Vance left. The door closed. Locked. Claudia sat back down on the cot. Her mind was racing, looking for options, looking for leverage, looking for anything that could change the trajectory of the next few hours. She had nothing. No weapons, no tools, no allies. Just rage and determination and the absolute certainty that she was not going to give them what they wanted. An hour passed, then 2. Psychological pressure. Let the prisoner think about what's coming. Let fear build. Standard interrogation technique. Finally, the door opened again. 2 contractors entered. They grabbed Claudia, dragged her out of the cell, down the corridor, into a larger room, an interrogation room. Metal chair bolted to the floor, metal table, cameras in the corners recording everything. And sitting in a chair on the other side of the table was a man Claudia recognized from photographs in her father's file. General Raymond Blackwood, 4 stars, retired, now CEO of Typhon Group, the architect of the entire operation. He was 61 but looked younger, fit, alert, the kind of man who maintained military discipline even in civilian life. Master Chief Portman, I've heard a great deal about you. Your father spoke of you often. Very proud, very hopeful that you would carry on his legacy. My father's legacy was honor, something you wouldn't understand. Blackwood smiled. Your father's legacy was naive idealism. He believed that rules mattered more than results. He couldn't accept that American dominance requires American pragmatism. He couldn't accept corruption. He couldn't accept reality. Neither can you, but reality doesn't care about acceptance. It simply is. Blackwood opened a folder, showed Claudia photographs, Marcus Reed's helmet cam footage, frame-by-frame documentation of the assassination. This is what your friend recorded. This is what he died for. American soldiers doing what American soldiers have always done, protecting American interests by any means necessary. American soldiers don't sell weapons to enemies. Everyone is an enemy until they're an ally. Everyone is an ally until they're an enemy. Pakistan was useful. The weapons we traded gave us intelligence that saved lives. The math is simple. What about the $2 billion in weapons my father tracked? What about the money that went into offshore accounts? What about the defense contractors who got rich while soldiers died with inadequate equipment? Blackwood's smile faded. Your father couldn't prove any of that. He had suspicions, theories, but no evidence. Just like you have no evidence now. The hard drive we recovered from Jennifer Reed's house encrypted with a key only Marcus knew. He died before he could give it to anyone, so now it's just a useless piece of hardware. Claudia felt her heart sink. Marcus had encrypted the footage. Of course he had. Professional operational security. But if he died before sharing the decryption key, the evidence was locked forever. Unless, Jennifer knows, Claudia said. Marcus would have told her, would have made sure she could access it. We've asked her, she claims ignorance, says her husband never mentioned encryption keys, says she thought the files were just personal videos. She's lying, possibly, which is why we're going to ask her again, more persuasively this time. The door opened. Jennifer was brought in, terrified, trembling. Two contractors held her arms. Mrs. Reed, I apologize for the necessity of this conversation, but your husband created a problem. He recorded evidence that threatens national security. He encrypted that evidence with a key only he knew. We need that key. Jennifer's voice shook. I don't know anything about a key. Marcus never said anything about encryption. I believe you believe that. But perhaps your husband was more clever than you realize. Perhaps he hid the key somewhere you would find it but wouldn't recognize. A birthday, an anniversary, a phrase he used often. I don't know. I swear I don't know. Blackwood nodded to one of the contractors. The man pulled out a knife, grabbed Jennifer's hand, placed the blade against her index finger. Let's see if we can help you remember. Claudia lunged forward, but the contractors holding her were ready. They yanked her back, slammed her against the wall. Stop, don't hurt her. She doesn't know anything. Blackwood looked at Claudia. Then give me what I want. Tell me what Chen knows. Tell me who else you've contacted. Tell me where the other copies of this evidence are. Tell me everything and I'll let Mrs. Reed go home to her children. There are no other copies. Chen doesn't know anything I haven't told you. Nobody else has been contacted. It's just me, just Reed's footage, that's all. I don't believe you. The contractor pressed the blade harder. Jennifer screamed. Please don't. I'll tell you what I know. The contractor paused. Blackwood leaned forward. Go on, Mrs. Reed. Marcus used to say this phrase. Whenever something went wrong, whenever he was frustrated, he'd say, Ice Queen saves the day. I never knew what it meant. Just thought it was something from his Navy days. Ice Queen. That was Claudia's call sign, her operator nickname, because she never showed emotion under fire, never panicked, never missed. Marcus had known that someday Claudia might need access to his evidence, had left the encryption key in a phrase that would mean nothing to anyone except the one person who might use it. Ice Queen saves the day. Blackwood looked at Claudia, understanding dawning in his eyes. The key is your call sign. Reed encrypted the files so that only you could access them. Clever, trusting, stupid. He pulled out a laptop, connected the hard drive, typed in the phrase. The files unlocked, video footage filled the screen. Marcus Reed's point of view, entering the compound. The ISI kernel, the weapons cases, the serial numbers clearly visible. And then the execution. The SEAL team opening fire, the colonel dying, Governor Rabbani protesting, Vance giving the order, the second execution. All of it documented in high-definition clarity. This is interesting, Blackwood said, but not as damaging as you might think. Video can be explained, can be contextualized, can be dismissed as edited or fabricated. Without corroborating evidence, it's just your word against ours. There's corroborating evidence, Claudia said. My father documented the weapon sales, tracked shipments, recorded conversations. He had everything you needed to connect the dots, and he hid it where you'd never find it. It was a bluff. Her father's evidence had died with him 15 years ago, but Blackwood didn't know that. Where? Safe deposit box, small bank in Norfolk, instructions with his lawyer. If anything happened to him, the box contents would be delivered to his daughter on her 30th birthday. You're 29. Which means in 6 months, I get everything. All his evidence, all his documentation, all the proof you've been trying to destroy for 15 years. Blackwood's jaw tightened. He was calculating, trying to determine if she was lying. I don't believe you. Then don't, but are you willing to take that risk? Are you willing to bet your freedom on the assumption that my father didn't prepare for his own murder? For the first time, Blackwood looked uncertain. Even if such evidence exists, you'll never live to access it. You'll die here today, along with Mrs. Reed. Your daughter will never know the truth. The evidence will sit in that box forever. My daughter knows. I sent her a letter before I died. Told her everything. Told her where to find the box. Told her who to give the evidence to. If I don't contact her within 30 days, she follows my instructions. Another bluff. Emma knew nothing. But the bluff was working. She could see it in Blackwood's face. You're lying. Maybe. But you killed my father. Tried to kill me. Murdered 47 operators. Are you really willing to risk everything on a maybe? The room was silent. Everyone waiting. Watching the general calculate probabilities and consequences. Finally, he spoke. Colonel Vance, contact our asset at Norfolk National Bank. Find out if Daniel Portman had a safe deposit box. If he did, I want it seized and destroyed within the hour. Vance pulled out her phone, made a call, had a brief, terse conversation. There is a box, registered to Daniel Portman, set to be accessed by Claudia Portman on her 30th birthday. Instructions with a lawyer named Robert Chen. Chen, same last name as James. Claudia's blood ran cold. It wasn't a coincidence. Robert Chen was James Chen's father, a lawyer who had apparently been holding her father's evidence for 15 years. Which meant James Chen had known about this from the beginning, had known about the connection, had been using her to get to the evidence. Betrayal tasted like copper in her mouth. Seize the box, Blackwood ordered. Destroy the contents. Eliminate the lawyer. I want every trace of Portman's investigation erased within the next 2 hours. Vance nodded, left the room to coordinate. Blackwood turned back to Claudia. Your bluff was good, but ultimately futile. Within hours, every piece of evidence will be destroyed. You'll be dead. Jennifer Reed will be dead. Your daughter will grow up believing her mother died a hero. And life will continue as it has for decades. The weapons will flow. The money will be made. American dominance will be maintained through means that squeamish civilians will never understand. You forgot one thing, Claudia said. What's that? Chen isn't alone. The FBI doesn't send one agent to investigate corruption this massive. There's a team, there's oversight, there are people who know exactly what he's doing and exactly what evidence he's collected. You kill me, you destroy my father's files, and all you do is confirm that the conspiracy is real and that you're willing to murder to protect it. Blackwood's smile returned, cold, confident. The FBI isn't investigating us. They're investigating Chen. He's not a federal agent. He's a fraud, a civilian using a fake identity to pursue a personal vendetta over his brother's death. The real FBI has been watching him for months, waiting for him to commit enough crimes that they can arrest him without causing an international incident. He has no authority, no backup, no team, just delusions and a stolen badge. The words hit Claudia like bullets. Chen wasn't FBI, wasn't federal law enforcement, was just a man who had lost his brother and decided to wage a private war against the people responsible. Everything he had told her was a lie. The safe house in Jakarta, the extraction plan, the encrypted communications, all of it built on fabrication and false credentials, which meant the people protecting Emma weren't government assets, weren't trained professionals, were probably just friends of Chen, civilians playing spy games, which meant Emma was vulnerable, unprotected, at risk. I can see you're starting to understand, Blackwood said. Chen played you, used your grief and rage to pursue his own agenda, and now you're here, captured, with no evidence and no allies and no hope of rescue. He stood up, straightened his jacket. Kill them both. Make it clean. I have a dinner meeting in Washington tonight, and I'd prefer not to be late. The contractors moved forward. Claudia tensed, ready to fight, ready to die fighting if that's what it took. But before anyone could move, an explosion rocked the building. The lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in. Red, dim. Alarms screamed. Automatic weapons fire echoed through the corridors. Blackwood's radio crackled with panicked voices. Perimeter breach. Multiple hostiles. They're inside the facility. How many? Unknown. They're using smoke and suppression. We can't get a count. More explosions. Closer now. The building shook. Blackwood looked at Vance. Get to the command center. Coordinate the response. I want these attackers identified and eliminated. Vance nodded, ran from the room. The contractors were torn. Stay with the prisoners or respond to the attack. Go, Blackwood ordered. Help secure the perimeter. I'll handle these two. The contractors left. The door closed, leaving Blackwood alone with Claudia and Jennifer. He pulled out a pistol, government-issue Sig Sauer P226, pointed it at Claudia's head. It seems your friend Chen is more resourceful than I thought, attacking this facility to rescue you. Noble, stupid. He won't succeed, but I'll give him credit for trying. More gunfire. Closer now, right outside the door. Then the door exploded inward. Breaching charge, professional entry. A figure moved through the smoke. Tactical gear, night vision, moving with the fluid precision of someone who had done this 1,000 times. The figure shot Blackwood twice. Center mass, professional double tap. The general went down. The pistol clattered across the floor. The figure pulled off their night vision goggles. It wasn't James Chen. It was a woman, 50-something, scarred, with the hard eyes of someone who had seen combat and survived. She looked at Claudia, smiled. Master Chief Portman, my name is Sarah Webb. I believe you've been looking for your daughter. Let's go get her. Sarah Webb cut through Claudia's zip ties with a tactical knife. 3 quick motions. Professional, efficient. Can you fight? Claudia flexed her hands, blood flow returning, nerves tingling back to life. Yes, good, because we're about 40 operators away from being very dead. My team is creating a diversion, but it won't last long. Sarah moved to Jennifer, cut her restraints too. The widow was shaking in shock, unable to process what was happening. Mrs. Reed, I need you to stay close and do exactly what I say. Understand? Jennifer nodded. No words, just survival instinct taking over. Sarah pulled 2 pistols from her tactical vest, handed one to Claudia. The familiar weight of a Glock 19 settled into her palm like greeting an old friend. 15 rounds, 2 spare magazines, make them count. Where's Emma? Safe. But not for long. Once Blackwood's people regroup, they'll send kill teams to every location that matters. Your daughter, your mother, Jennifer's children. Everyone connected to this situation becomes a target. Claudia checked the Glock, chambered round, full magazine, ready to fire. Then we end this tonight. We get the evidence. We go public. We make it impossible for them to kill their way out of this. Sarah smiled. It was a predator's smile. I was hoping you'd say that. Follow me. They moved into the corridor. Smoke, chaos, the sound of automatic weapons fire echoing through the facility. Sarah's team was doing their job, creating confusion, making Typhon's contractors think they were facing a larger force than they actually were. Classic guerrilla tactics. Claudia had used them herself in Iraq and Afghanistan. Strike hard, move fast, never let the enemy get a clear count of your numbers. They reached a stairwell, descended 3 levels. The facility was larger than Claudia had realized. Multiple floors, multiple wings. This wasn't just a detention center. This was a command and control hub for Typhon's operations, which meant there would be servers, data storage, evidence beyond just Marcus Reed's helmet cam footage. Sarah, does this facility have a server room? Level 5. Why? Because Reed's footage isn't enough. We need financial records, communications, operational logs. Everything that proves this conspiracy goes beyond one weapons deal. Sarah stopped. Looked at Claudia with new appreciation. You're thinking like an operator. I like that. But level 5 is where they'll concentrate their defenses. It's the most secure part of the facility. Then we need a bigger distraction. Sarah pulled out a radio. Encrypted, military grade. Wraith team, this is Webb. We need an escalation, something that pulls all available personnel away from level 5. What can you give me? A voice responded. Male. Calm despite the gunfire audible in the background. We can give you a fuel depot explosion. Northeast corner. Every contractor in the facility will respond. But it'll also trigger fire suppression and emergency evacuation protocols. You'll have maybe 6 minutes before the whole building goes into lockdown. Do it. 30 seconds later, the explosion came. Massive. The entire building shook. Alarms changed pitch. Emergency lighting shifted to evacuation mode. Through a window, Claudia could see flames rising into the night sky. The fuel depot was burning. Contractors were scrambling, running toward the fire, away from where Sarah's team needed them to be. Move, now. They descended to level 5. The corridor was empty. Everyone had responded to the explosion, exactly as planned. The server room door was locked. Biometric scanner, keypad, military-grade security. Sarah pulled out a small device, bypass tool. She connected it to the scanner. The device cycled through biometric signatures, spoofing, hacking, trying to find a combination that worked. This will take 2 minutes. Claudia, cover the corridor. Jennifer, watch our backs. Claudia moved to the corner, pistol up, watching, waiting for the inevitable response. She didn't have to wait long. 4 contractors appeared, moving tactically, weapons ready. They saw Claudia the same moment she saw them. She fired. 3 shots. Center mass on the lead contractor. He went down. The others scattered, took cover, Return fire. Claudia dropped to one knee, used the corner as concealment, fired again, caught the second contractor in the shoulder. He spun, dropped his weapon. The third contractor threw a flashbang. It detonated in the corridor. Blinding light, deafening sound. But Claudia had been expecting it, had closed her eyes and covered her ears at the last second. The disorientation was minimal. She rolled left, came up firing. The third contractor took 2 rounds to the chest. Body armor stopped them, but the impact drove him back, gave Claudia time to adjust her aim. Third shot, headshot. He dropped. The fourth contractor was smarter. He didn't advance, didn't expose himself, just laid down suppressing fire while backing toward an alarm panel. If he triggered that alarm, every remaining contractor in the facility would know their exact location. Claudia couldn't let that happen. She sprinted forward, closing distance. The contractor swung his rifle toward her. Claudia fired twice. Both rounds hit his weapon. The rifle shattered, components flying. The contractor reached for his sidearm. Claudia was faster. She kicked his hand away, struck his throat with the butt of her pistol. He went down choking. She zip-tied his wrists, his ankles, left him struggling in the corridor. Clear. Sarah had the server room open. "We're in. Jennifer, stay at the door. Anyone comes, you scream." Inside the server room was exactly what Claudia expected. Rows of blade servers, cooling systems, multiple redundant power supplies. This was serious infrastructure, years of data storage. Sarah was already at a terminal, fingers flying across the keyboard. "I'm downloading everything. Financial transactions, communications logs, operational records, every piece of data this facility has stored." "How long?" 4 minutes, maybe 5. "The files are encrypted, but I have decryption tools. We'll break them later." Claudia watched the progress bar, watched the data transferring to Sarah's portable drive, watched their window of opportunity shrinking with each second. The radio crackled. "Webb, we have a problem. Multiple vehicles inbound. Looks like military response team. Heavy weapons, air support. They're calling in everyone." Sarah kept typing. "How long do we have?" 8 minutes, maybe 10. Then this place becomes a kill box. "Copy. We'll be out in 5. But even as she said it, Claudia knew they wouldn't make it. The download was too slow. The response was too fast. They would still be in the facility when the reinforcements arrived, which meant they needed another option. Sarah, is there a way out besides the front entrance? Emergency tunnels. They connect to an exit point half a mile north, but they'll be watching that too. What about air extraction? Can your team provide a helicopter? Not without getting shot down. They have anti-air capabilities. Stinger missiles, ironically enough. Probably the same ones they sold to Pakistan. Claudia thought fast, looking for leverage, looking for an advantage. Then she saw it. Into the corner of the server room, a weapons locker. She opened it. Inside were rifles, sniper rifles, multiple configurations. Macmillan T AC-50, Barrett M82, Shaytak M200. These weren't just for facility security. These were competition-grade weapons, the kind that serious shooters use for long-range precision work. Next to them was a rangefinder, a wind meter, a ballistics computer. Everything you needed to make impossible shots at extreme distances. An idea formed. Dangerous, crazy, but possible. "Sarah, where's the nearest high ground? Somewhere I can get elevation and line of sight on the access road." Sarah looked at her, understanding dawning. "There's a ridge, northeast of here, about 1,200 meters. But what are you thinking?" "I'm thinking that if we can't run and we can't hide, we fight. And the best way to fight is to make it too expensive for them to keep coming." Claudia grabbed the Shaytak M200, chambered in .408 Shaytak. One of the most accurate long-range rifles ever made. Effective range over 2,000 meters in the right hands. She checked the scope. Night Force AT, ACR, high-end optics. She grabbed ammunition, match-grade rounds. Designed for precision at extreme distance. "I need 15 minutes. Can your team give me that?" Sarah nodded. "We can give you 15 minutes. But after that, we're out of ammunition and out of tricks. Whatever you're planning better work." "It will, trust me." They left the server room. The download complete, over 600 gigabytes of data, everything they needed to prove the conspiracy, if they survived long enough to use it. Sarah led them to the emergency tunnel. Jennifer stayed close, still in shock, still processing that her quiet life as a teacher had become something from a nightmare. The tunnel was dark, narrow, concrete walls that seemed to press in from all sides. They moved single file, Sarah in front, Claudia in back, protecting Jennifer between them. They emerged into the West Virginia night. Mountains, trees, the smell of smoke from the burning fuel depot. Sarah's team was waiting. 3 operators, all former military, all wearing the kind of expression that came from being in too many firefights and somehow surviving them all. "We need to move," one of them said. "Response teams are 2 minutes out." "Change of plans," Sarah said. "We're not running. Portman is going to buy us time. Get her to the ridge, set her up for long-range interdiction. The rest of us will secure the perimeter and prepare for extraction." The operators looked at Claudia, at the rifle in her hands, at the determination in her eyes. One of them nodded. "This way, double time." They ran through the forest, up the slope. Claudia's lungs burned, her legs screamed. But she pushed through. 15 years of training, thousands of miles run in preparation for moments exactly like this. They reached the ridge in 4 minutes. The operator with her immediately began setting up a hide, using natural terrain, vegetation, creating a position that would be invisible from the valley below. Claudia settled into position, prone, the rifle resting on an improvised bipod made from stacked rocks. Through the scope, she could see the access road, winding through the valley, leading to the Typhon facility that was still burning in the distance. And coming up that road were vehicles, multiple Humvees, technical trucks with mounted machine guns, at least 40 contractors, enough firepower to overwhelm Sarah's small team. Claudia checked her rangefinder, 2,100 meters to the lead vehicle, well within the CHATAC's capability. But this wasn't a static target. This was a moving convoy on a winding road at night. She checked the wind, 3 miles per hour, southeast, temperature 52 degrees, barometric pressure stable. She input the data into the ballistics computer. It calculated the solution, gave her the adjustment needed. She dialed the scope, compensated for wind, for distance, for the Coriolis effect, for every variable that existed between the trigger pull and the bullet impact. Then she waited, breathing slow, heart rate steady, becoming part of the mountain, part of the night, part of the machinery of death that she had been trained to be. The lead Humvee came into her crosshairs. She could see the driver through the windshield, could see his face, young, maybe 25, probably former military, probably someone who thought he was doing the right thing, protecting his country, following orders, just like she had been before she learned the truth. Her finger touched the trigger. That sacred moment between intention and action, between life and death. She thought about her father, about the shot he should have taken but didn't, about the conscience that had gotten him killed. She thought about Marcus Reed, about the footage that had cost him his life, about the family he had left behind. She thought about Emma, about her daughter who deserved to grow up in a world where truth mattered, where justice was real, where powerful people couldn't murder their way to continued power. And she thought about the choice she had made on a mountain in Afghanistan, the shot she had refused to take, the bullet that had started all of this. She exhaled, let her breathing stop at the natural pause, let the rifle settle, and fired. The CHATAC bucked against her shoulder. The suppressor reduced the sound but couldn't eliminate the crack of a supersonic round. 2,100 meters down, range the .408 CHATAC bullet traveled at 2,900 feet per second. It took 2.3 seconds to reach the target. Claudia watched through the scope, watched the bullet's path, watched the impact. The round hit the lead Humvee's front tire. The tire exploded, the vehicle swerved, the driver overcorrected. The Humvee went off the road, rolled, came to rest on its side. The convoy stopped. Contractors scrambled out, taking defensive positions, looking for the shooter. Claudia worked the bolt, ejected the spent casing, chambered another round. She aimed at the second vehicle, adjusted for the slight change in angle, fired. Another tire, another vehicle disabled. The convoy was stopped now, blocked by 2 disabled Humvees. The contractors were shouting into radios, calling for support, trying to figure out where the shots were coming from. Claudia fired again, this time aiming for the engine block of the third Humvee. The round punched through the hood, struck the engine, coolant sprayed, the engine seized. 3 vehicles down, the convoy couldn't advance, couldn't retreat without abandoning equipment, Couldn't locate her position. Perfect chaos. Her radio crackled. Sarah's voice. I don't know what you're doing up there, but it's working. The response team is stalled. We have time to move. What's your extraction plan? Good question. Claudia had bought them time, but she was still on a mountain with a rifle and no way down except through a forest full of people who wanted her dead. I'll figure it out. You get Jennifer to safety. Get that data to someone who can use it. FBI, media, Congress. I don't care who. Just make sure it gets out. Negative, we're not leaving you. That's an order, Sarah. You're not my commanding officer, Master Chief, and I don't abandon people. Before Claudia could respond, she heard it. The distinctive sound of a helicopter incoming from the south, fast, low. She swung her scope toward the sound, saw the aircraft, civilian markings. But the way it moved wasn't civilian. That was military piloting. Combat approach. The helicopter came to hover over the ridge. A rope dropped, a figure fast roped down. James Chen. He landed, disconnected from the rope, ran to Claudia's position. Time to go, Master Chief. Your chariot awaits. Claudia stared at him, at the man who had lied to her, who had used her, who had put her daughter at risk. You're not FBI. No, I'm not. I'm just a man who lost his brother and decided to do something about it. Sometimes that's enough. Blackwood said you're a fraud, that the real FBI is investigating you. Blackwood said a lot of things. Most of them were lies designed to make you lose hope. Yes, I used a fake FBI identity. Yes, I've committed multiple felonies in pursuit of this investigation. But everything I told you about the conspiracy was true. And right now we can argue about my credentials, or you can get on that helicopter and help me finish this. Claudia looked at the rifle, at the convoy below, at the choices that had led her to this moment. Then she made her decision. Help me pack this rifle. If we're going to finish this, I might need to make one more shot. They loaded the Chaytak into the helicopter. Claudia climbed aboard. The operator who had helped her set up the hide came with them. The helicopter lifted off, banked hard, dove toward the valley, nap of the earth flying, using the terrain to avoid radar and anti-air systems. Where are we going? Claudia shouted over the rotor noise. Chen pointed to a tablet. It showed a map, a location highlighted in red. Senator William Hastings' private estate, Virginia countryside, 43 minutes from here. He's hosting a fundraising dinner tonight. 200 guests, media coverage. The perfect place for a public revelation. You want to crash his fundraiser? I want you to crash his fundraiser. I want you to stand in front of 200 people and cameras and tell them everything. I want you to show them Reed's footage. I want you to name names and provide evidence. I want you to make it impossible for them to spin this as conspiracy theory or fake news. They'll arrest me the moment I appear. I'm supposed to be dead. Let them arrest you. Let them put you in custody, on camera, in front of witnesses. Then they can't make you disappear quietly. They can't stage an accident. They have to charge you officially. And once you're charged, you get a lawyer. You get a trial. You get discovery where all this evidence becomes public record. It was brilliant. Insane, but brilliant. What about Emma? What about the kill teams you said they'd send? Already handled. Sarah has Jennifer's children. She has your mother. She has everyone who matters in protective custody. Different locations, different identities. They're ghosts until this is over. And Emma, Chen smiled. Emma is on that helicopter, has been the whole time. He pointed to the back of the aircraft, behind cargo netting. A teenage girl was strapped into a jump seat, wearing oversized headphones, looking terrified and brave in equal measure. Emma, Claudia's daughter, alive, safe, here. Claudia unbuckled, moved to the back, pulled Emma into her arms, held her daughter for the first time in 6 months, felt Emma shaking, crying, holding on like she would never let go. Mom, they said you were dead. They said you died in Afghanistan. How are you here? Long story, baby. I'll explain everything. But right now, I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Emma nodded against her mother's shoulder. I always trust you. The helicopter flew through the night, over mountains, over valleys, over the country that Claudia had served for 15 years. The country she had bled for, the country she had been willing to die for. Until she learned that the country she loved had been corrupted by people who wore its uniform and betrayed its values. They approached Hastings' estate 40 minutes later, a sprawling mansion, manicured grounds, cars lining the driveway, valets and security and the machinery of political power on full display. The helicopter descended toward the front lawn. People scattered. Security personnel shouted into radios. Guests pointed and recorded on their phones. Perfect. Every camera in the place was now pointing at them. The helicopter touched down. Claudia grabbed the Chaytak, grabbed the portable drive with the server data, grabbed Emma's hand. They stepped out into the Virginia night, into the spotlight of a dozen camera phones, into the moment that would define everything that came after. Security personnel were running toward them, weapons drawn, shouting commands. Get down, get on the ground, hands where we can see them. Claudia raised her hands, but she didn't get down. She needed to be standing, needed to be visible, needed everyone to see what came next. My name is Master Chief Petty Officer Claudia Portman, United States Navy. I'm supposed to be dead, but I'm very much alive, and I have evidence of the biggest military corruption scandal in American history. She pulled out the portable drive, held it up. This contains financial records, communications, operational logs, proof that high-ranking military officers have been selling American weapons to foreign intelligence agencies, proof that they've been murdering American soldiers to cover up their crimes, proof that Senator William Hastings personally participated in the assassination of an Afghan provincial governor. The security personnel stopped, uncertain. This wasn't what they were trained for. This wasn't a simple trespasser. This was something bigger. From the mansion, Senator Hastings emerged, 58 years old, presidential candidate, smooth, polished, the face of American political ambition. He saw Claudia, saw the cameras, saw his carefully constructed image about to collapse. This woman is mentally disturbed. She's AWOL from military service. She's making wild accusations to cover her own crimes. Someone call the police. Have her arrested. Claudia pulled out her phone, the one Sari had given her in Jakarta. She connected it to a portable speaker that Chen handed her. Let's see how wild my accusations are. She played Reed's helmet cam footage. The audio echoed across the lawn. The video played on her phone screen. Small, but clear enough. The ISI colonel. The weapons, the execution, Hastings' face, Hastings' voice, giving the order. Kill them both. We can't leave witnesses. The crowd went silent. 200 people watching, listening, recording. Hastings' face went white. That footage is fabricated. Deepfake technology. Anyone can make a video look real. This proves nothing. Then explain the financial records, Claudia said. Explain the $200 million that flowed from defense contractors to offshore accounts controlled by your wife. Explain the weapons shipments that were diverted from their official destinations. Explain the 47 dead American special operators who all witnessed things they weren't supposed to see. She turned to the cameras, to the phones recording, to the people who would share this moment across social media within minutes. My father was Master Chief Daniel Portman, Medal of Honor recipient. He discovered this conspiracy 15 years ago. He was murdered to keep him quiet. They made it look like a training accident, just like they murdered Petty Officer Marcus Reed, just like they tried to murder me. But I survived, and now I'm here to tell you the truth. The United States military has been infiltrated by criminals, by people who see war as a business opportunity, who see soldiers as expendable assets, who betray everything the uniform stands for. Police sirens, multiple vehicles approaching fast. Chen leaned close. This is it. Once they arrest you, we can't protect you. You'll be in the system. You'll be vulnerable. I know, but this is how we win. Not by running, not by hiding, by standing in the light and forcing them to deal with the truth. The police arrived. Multiple cars. Officers emerged. Weapons drawn. Hands behind your head. Get on the ground now. Claudia complied. Knelt, then lay prone. Felt the cold grass against her face. Felt handcuffs tighten around her wrists. She looked at Emma. Her daughter was crying. Chen had his arm around her, protecting her, promising her something that Claudia couldn't hear. They lifted Claudia to her feet, read her rights, started to lead her toward the patrol car. But before they could get her there, more vehicles arrived. Black SUVs, federal markings, FBI. A woman emerged from the lead vehicle, 50-something, professional suit, the bearing of someone who held real authority. Special agent in charge, Linda Martinez. I'm taking custody of this prisoner. The local police looked uncertain. We were told to arrest her for trespassing and making terroristic threats. And I'm telling you that she's a witness in a federal investigation. She's coming with us. If you have a problem with that, you can take it up with the Attorney General. The police didn't have a problem with that. Martinez's team loaded Claudia into one of the SUVs. Emma tried to follow. Chen held her back. Let her go, baby. Your mom is doing what she needs to do. Trust her. The SUV pulled away, drove through the chaos, through the crowd, through the cameras still recording. Inside the vehicle, Martinez turned to look at Claudia. Master Chief Portman, I've been investigating this case for 2 years. We've known about the weapon sales, known about the murders, but we've never had enough evidence to prosecute until tonight. So Chen really did contact the FBI. Chen contacted everyone. FBI, Inspector General, Congressional Oversight Committees. He's been a pain in our ass for 3 years. But he was right. And now that you've gone public, now that this is all over social media, we can't sweep it under the rug. We have to act. What happens now? Now you testify, grand jury, congressional hearing, criminal trials. You tell your story over and over until everyone responsible is held accountable. It won't be easy, it won't be quick, but it will be justice. And Emma, my daughter, she's a minor. She's a witness's child. She'll be protected. We have programs for this. She'll be safe. Claudia leaned back in the seat, felt the exhaustion of the past 72 hours catching up with her. My father, his evidence, the safe deposit box. Was it real? Martinez smiled. Very real. Robert Chen has been holding it for 15 years, waiting for the right moment, waiting for someone with the courage to use it. Your father documented everything. Financial records, meeting notes, recordings of conversations with people who admitted things they shouldn't have. He knew they were going to kill him, so he made sure the truth would survive even if he didn't. And the 47 operators who died, we're opening investigations into every case. Some were legitimate training accidents, some were combat casualties, but at least 23 were definitely insurance shots, murders disguised as accidents. Your father's notes included their names, their cases, the circumstances that made them targets. Claudia closed her eyes, felt tears she had been holding back for days finally falling. Did we win? Did we actually win? You won the first battle, but the war is just beginning. These people have money, power, connections. They'll fight this with everything they have. It's going to get ugly. I can handle ugly. I've been dealing with ugly my whole career. Yes, but there's one more thing you need to know. Martinez pulled out a tablet, showed Claudia a photograph. It was Blackwood, in a hospital bed, alive. The shots that killed him were center mass, body armor. He survived. He's in critical condition, but he'll make it, which means he'll stand trial, which means we can prosecute the architect of this entire conspiracy. Claudia looked at the photograph, at the man who had ordered her father's death, who had tried to kill her, who had built an empire on the bodies of American soldiers. Good. I want him to face justice. I want him to spend the rest of his life in prison knowing that he lost, that he failed, that one SEAL's conscience was stronger than his entire organization. The SUV arrived at FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. Martinez led Claudia through secure corridors, past agents who stared, past offices where people were already working through the night, building the case, analyzing the evidence, preparing for the trials that would define American military accountability for a generation. They put Claudia in a conference room. Comfortable chairs, coffee, water, the treatment of a witness, not a prisoner. You'll stay here tonight. Tomorrow we start the debriefing. Every detail, every name, every operation. This is going to take weeks, months. Are you prepared for that? I'm prepared for whatever it takes. Martinez nodded. Your daughter is being brought here. She'll stay with you. We have family quarters. Not luxurious, but safe. Better than anything else you've experienced lately. Thank you. Martinez moved toward the door, paused. Your father would be proud of you. He spent his whole career trying to expose this. Died trying. But you finished it. You made his sacrifice mean something. She left. The door closed. Claudia was alone. She thought about her father, about the last conversation they'd had before his final deployment. He had told her something then. Something she hadn't understood at the time. Claudia, if anything ever happens to me, I need you to know that I died doing what was right. Not what was easy, not what was safe, but what was right. And I need you to promise me something. Promise me you'll always choose the same thing, even when it costs you everything. She had promised, not understanding what he was asking, not knowing the price that promise would demand. But now she understood. Now she knew. Choosing right over easy had cost her 15 years of lies about her father's death. Had cost her a career she loved, had cost her the safety and security she had built. But it had also given her something invaluable: the truth, justice, the knowledge that she had stood up when it mattered, that she had refused the shot, that she had honored the oath she had taken. The door opened. Emma entered, escorted by an agent, but the moment she saw Claudia, she ran, threw herself into her mother's arms. "Mom, I was so scared. I didn't understand what was happening. They said you were dead and then you weren't dead, and then there were helicopters and guns, and I didn't know if I'd ever see you again." Claudia held her daughter, stroked her hair, made promises that this time she could actually keep. "I know, baby, I know, but it's over now. We're safe, we're together, and I'm never leaving you again. Promise, promise." They sat together, mother and daughter, in a conference room in FBI headquarters, surrounded by evidence of a conspiracy that had killed dozens and corrupted an institution, but together, safe, alive. 6 months later, Claudia stood in front of the Senate Armed Services Committee. The hearing room was packed. Media, military brass, defense contractors, politicians, everyone who had a stake in what happened next. Senator Elizabeth Warren led the questioning. She had made military accountability her signature issue. Now she had the biggest case in military history. "Master Chief Portman, you've provided this committee with extensive testimony about Operation Glass Tiger, about the systematic assassination of foreign officials, about the illegal weapons sales, about the murder of American service members who witnessed these crimes. Can you summarize for the record the scope of what you discovered?" Claudia looked at the camera, at the live feed that was being broadcast to millions of Americans, at the moment that would define her legacy. "Senator, what I discovered is that a small group of military officers and defense contractors decided that American foreign policy was too restrictive, that rules of engagement were too limiting, that congressional oversight was too intrusive. So they created their own foreign policy, their own rules, their own accountability structure that answered to no one. They sold American weapons to whoever could pay. They assassinated foreign officials who threatened their operation. They murdered American soldiers who witnessed their crimes. And they did it all while wearing the uniform and collecting taxpayer-funded salaries. The conspiracy involved at least 14 generals, 23 colonels, 6 defense contractors, and 3 members of Congress. It resulted in the deaths of 47 American special operators, the illegal sale of over $200 billion in weapons, and the assassination of at least 63 foreign officials across 15 countries. It was the biggest betrayal of military values in American history, and it was only stopped because one SEAL refused to take a shot, because Marcus Reed recorded evidence, because people like James Chen and Sarah Webb refused to accept that corruption was inevitable, because somewhere in the system there were still people who believed that truth mattered. Senator Portman nodded. "And what is your recommendation for preventing something like this from happening again?" "Independent oversight, real consequences, and a cultural change in how we view military authority. We need to stop treating generals like untouchable heroes and start treating them like public servants who can be held accountable. We need to empower junior personnel to question illegal orders without fear of retaliation. We need to make it clear that no mission, no matter how important, justifies murder and corruption. The oath we take is to support and defend the Constitution, not to follow orders blindly, not to protect powerful people from consequences. The Constitution. And if we lose sight of that, we lose everything that makes America worth defending." The hearing continued for 6 hours. Claudia answered every question, provided every detail, named every name. When it was over, she walked out of the Capitol building, into the Washington sunlight, into a world that had changed. Emma was waiting. So was Chen. So was Sarah. So was Jennifer Reed with her 2 children. They had all testified, had all told their stories, had all contributed to bringing down a conspiracy that had operated for decades. "How do you feel?" Chen asked. "Tired, but good, like something important just happened." Something important did happen. 7 generals have already been arrested. Congressional investigations are expanding. Defense contractors are scrambling. The system is actually working. Claudia looked at the Capitol dome, at the symbol of American democracy, tarnished, imperfect, but still standing. "My father would have loved to see this. He did see it. Through you, you finished what he started." They walked away from the Capitol, away from the cameras and the politics and the machinery of justice that would grind on for years. Emma took her mother's hand. "What happens now? Now we go home. Real home. Not a safe house or a hotel or a hiding place. Actual home. and we start living the life we were supposed to have. Can you do that? Can you just go back to normal after everything that happened? Claudia thought about it, about the shot she had refused, about the conspiracy she had exposed, about the impossible distance she had traveled from that mountain in Afghanistan to this moment. I don't know if normal is possible anymore, but we can try, and maybe trying is enough. 1 year later, Claudia received a phone call. It was Martinez. Master Chief Portman, I have news. Good news or bad news? Good news. General Blackwood was convicted on all counts. Conspiracy to commit murder, weapons trafficking, corruption. He got life in prison with no possibility of parole. Same for 7 other generals. The defense contractors are bankrupt. Their CEOs are facing criminal charges. Senator Hastings withdrew from the presidential race and is under indictment. And the other cases, the 47 operators, 23 cases confirmed as homicide. Investigations ongoing. Families are being notified. Compensation is being arranged. It's not enough. Nothing can bring back the people we lost, but it's something. Claudia closed her eyes, felt the weight of those 47 names, felt their families' grief, felt the enormous cost of the conspiracy that had stolen their lives. What about insurance protocol? Has it been eliminated? Officially abolished? New regulations? New oversight? No more unauthorized terminations? No more killing our own to protect secrets? Do you believe it will stick? Martinez was quiet for a moment. I believe that what you did scared people, showed them that conspiracies can be exposed, that murders can be prosecuted, that no one is untouchable. Will that prevent all future corruption? No, but it will make people think twice, and sometimes that's all we can hope for. Claudia hung up the phone, looked out the window of her new apartment in Virginia Beach, watched Emma in the yard, playing with friends, being a normal teenager, living the life that had almost been stolen from her. Chen had been right about one thing. There was no going back to what she had been. The SEAL career was over. The uniform was gone. The security clearance was revoked. But she had something better. She had her daughter. She had her truth. She had the knowledge that she had stood up when it mattered. She had made the impossible shot, not with a rifle, not at 2,000 meters, but with her conscience, with her refusal to become what they wanted her to be. That shot had changed everything, had brought down generals and contractors and politicians, had exposed corruption that had operated for decades, had made the truth matter in a world where powerful people thought they could define reality. Her father had died trying to take that shot. Marcus Reed had died recording the evidence. 47 others had died for knowing too much. But Claudia had survived, had finished what they started, had honored their sacrifice by refusing to let their deaths be meaningless. The doorbell rang. Claudia opened it to find Sarah Webb standing there, holding a folder. I thought you'd want to see this. Claudia took the folder, opened it. Inside was a letter, official Navy letterhead. It was an official apology for the lies told about her death, for the attempted murder, for the conspiracy that had operated within the military's highest ranks. And attached to it was something else, a medal citation. The Secretary of the Navy, in recognition of extraordinary heroism and devotion to duty, hereby awards Master Chief Petty Officer Claudia Portman the Navy Cross for actions in Afghanistan in subsequent exposure of criminal conspiracy within the United States Armed Forces. Claudia stared at this citation. The Navy Cross, second highest decoration for valor, for heroism, for putting duty above personal safety. They're giving me a medal for refusing to commit murder. Sarah smiled. They're giving you a medal for honoring your oath when everyone around you was betraying theirs, for choosing conscience over orders, for being the kind of SEAL your father would have been proud of. Claudia set down the citation, looked at Sarah. Do you think it's over? Really over? The trials will continue for years. The investigations will uncover more corruption. There will be appeals and pardons and political fights. But the core conspiracy, yes, it's over. You killed it. Not me, all of us. You, Chen, Reed, my father, everyone who refused to accept that corruption was inevitable. True, but you were the one who made the impossible shot. You were the one who stood on that ridge and bought us time. You were the one who walked into Hastings' fundraiser and told the truth to the whole world. That took courage most people don't have. Claudia thought about that night, about the Che-Tak rifle, about the convoy stopped in the valley below, about the moment when she had chosen to fight instead of run. It wasn't courage. It was just the only choice I could live with. That's what courage is, Doing what's right even when you're terrified, even when it costs you everything, even when easier options exist. Sarah left. The door closed. Claudia stood in her living room, holding a medal she had never expected to receive, for actions she had taken because she couldn't do anything else. She thought about her father, about his promise to always choose right over easy, about the price he had paid for that choice. She thought about Emma, about the world her daughter would grow up in, a world where maybe, just maybe, truth still mattered, where justice was possible, where one person's refusal to commit murder could change everything. She thought about the shot she hadn't taken, the bullet that had never left the rifle on that mountain in Afghanistan, the moment when she had chosen Marcus Reed's life over her career. That shot had cost her everything she had built in 15 years of service. But it had also given her something invaluable, the knowledge that when tested, she had chosen right, that when faced with an impossible choice, she had chosen conscience, that when ordered to become a murderer, she had refused. She walked to the window, watched Emma laughing, watched her daughter living without fear, without the weight of secrets and laws and conspiracies. And Claudia Portman, Master Chief, Petty Officer, United States Navy, retired, allowed herself to smile. The shot she hadn't taken had changed everything, and that would always be enough.